Today we're making what I grew up with as press cookies, or the Christmas cookies that I love most. I always thought they were a German cookie. My wife, who was Italian, thought they were an Italian cookie.
They are Italian.
Turns out they're both. So if you're standing in Germany, they're Eisenkuchen. And if you're in Italy, they're Pizzelles. So whatever you want to call them, you can call them. Some people like them thicker, some people like them thinner. But we're going to do my grandmother's recipe plus vanilla, which is an addition of my mother. We're going to use my brand new press, which I have not used yet, but it is the correct shape that I have tried to find for years. So we'll see how that works. There are 2 sticks of butter. There is 1 cup of sugar, 4 eggs, half a cup of milk, but I might need a little more, 1 3/4 cups of flour, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now, my grandmother's recipe was originally in grams, but she didn't use a scale. She used one of these measuring devices, which hers was in German, and so inside it has all the different ingredients, and you fill it up and it tells you how much it would weigh. So it basically converts things from volume into mass, which is absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, mine is in ounces and not grams, so I could not use her recipe, but it turns out I used my scale, and my mother's recipe worked out to be my grandmother's recipe. Someone just must have converted it along the way. Okay, the first thing we need to do is cream the butter into the sugar, and I'm not gonna do that by hand. So let me get the mixer. So here is my mixer, and I am going to add my butter. It is almost room temperature. I did my cheater method by cutting it up and putting it in front of the toaster oven and turning the toaster oven on for a couple of minutes. That it's not too close that it melts it, but it makes it somewhat soft. I'm going to put in my sugar. And then I'm going to use my whisk. Now, from what I know about creaming, which this is that method, you can always under cream, but it's hard to over cream. And so you want to do this process until you can see a change in color in the butter. Now, my grandmother and mother used to use margarine. I prefer the taste of butter. I still remember the moment I tasted butter for the first time, and it was life-changing. So all we're going to do is cream this together, and okay, so I did push it down a couple times, and you can see how light it is and how white it is, and that is good. And so what we're going to do now is put in, now this varies slightly from my grandmother's recipe, which adds a little bit of each at a time, but I am going to add all the wet team in at the moment. So that is my milk, my vanilla. So this is half a cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then I'm going to add 4 eggs. Of course, on camera, it always breaks ugly, because that's just the way it goes. And there we go. And then we're going to just mix this up until it's one nice, consistent batter. And then we're going to slowly add our flour, but I'll start filming again for that. So I mixed it up until it was as smooth as possible, but the eggs were too cold, and so obviously the butter is not going to become part of the eggs when it's cold, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of flour at a time. I'm going to mix it in, and then this should help make it become a smooth batter. So I'm just going to mix a little, wait till that incorporates, and then mix more, and you know what I'm saying, until it's all one nice batter. See you in a minute. So I added an extra 1/4 cup of milk because it seemed too thick. And so my Tante Margaret, that means aunt in German, she said, try one and see how they come out. So we're going to heat up the iron, try it. And if it's too thick, then we can always thin it out with a little bit more milk. But to be honest, I'm 43 years old. I have never made these. I don't even remember seeing my mother make the batter. So we're just kind of experimenting. But let's give it a try. New iron, they say to throw away. but you can, and I really loaded it up with oil to make sure that I kind of like season it like a cast iron, and which is why these look super greasy. But you can see that they are pretty thin. They are nice. Obviously I put a little bit too much batter in there, but yeah, I think they're really good. So let me show you how I did it. And I think that the batter is pretty perfect. So open it up and you can see a little bit of the oil still in there that's a little brown. We're gonna try not oiling it again and see what happens. I'm gonna take just a large spoon and a big dollop in the middle, and that looks about right. I'm gonna close the lid, and you gotta lock it down. A little bit is squeezing out, but I think that's okay. And I'm gonna set a 1 minute timer, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, there we go. That has been 1 minute. Ooh, they're a little light. We're gonna go another couple seconds. We're gonna give them an extra 30 seconds to see how we go. Okay, so it is now 1.5 minutes. Maybe a little dark, but they look pretty good. I also put a little bit too much batter in there. But then you see how soft they are. So just need to get them out. And then after a minute or two, they will crisp up. So I'll put those there. We'll throw another scoop in, maybe a little less this time. I do remember my mother scraping excess off the outside of the iron as they went. This right one might be a little too much. We'll see. Okay, let's try it again. See you in 2. Okay, and so that's been 1 minute, and I think it's 1 minute. Yeah, that's it right there. I'm sorry I'm chewing. I did the last batch at 1.5 minutes, and it was too much. Just a little brown, but to be honest, they taste great. They're super thin, and all you have to do is break them apart. And that is, that's Eisenkuchen.
Pizzelle.
Call it what you will. See you in class.